What up, you guys? Welcome back to John's Moto Garage. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a minute since I did a video, and today I want to talk about one of the things that I think it's kind of a given, but nobody really mentions it to you when you get into motorcycles, especially when you get into like riding stunts and stuff like that. But it's one of the biggest downsides of motorcycles and stunt riding in particular. So we're going to jump into that today. Let's hit it. What is the big drag about stunt riding and motorcycles? And the number one thing is the cost side of things, right? Motorcycles in general are not a cheap hobby. I mean, just getting into a motorcycle, you're going to be spending at least a couple $1,000, and it's getting more and more expensive by the day, sadly. Now, just about any hobby you do, it's going to cost money. Hobbies cost money. That's just the name of the game. Take this freaking mountain bike, for example. Shoot, mountain bike, it's almost more expensive than motorcycles. Just on a side note, on the good old mountain bike here, I broke a spoke, and so I'm working on replacing a spoke. I think if I took it easier and I wasn't riding so crazily, that I wouldn't have as many issues with the mountain bike, but live and learn, you know what I mean? Anyway, back to the motorcycles. Motorcycle maintenance and tires and all that stuff, whether you do it yourself or you're paying somebody to do it, power sports, it's just an expensive thing. I had to replace a fuel pump on a bike that I flipped about a couple years back. It was a Kawasaki Concourse, or no, Voyager. It's a Kawasaki Voyager. I had to replace a fuel pump. That thing alone for maintenance, for labor and the fuel pump, is like $1,500. I mean, it's not cheap. Motorcycles are expensive, that's the point. But if you get into doing the stunt riding, what I've been doing the last couple years, especially with the Harleys and everything, it really takes a toll on the bike. The bikes take a beating, and that's not just the Harleys, that's also the sport bikes or the other stunt bikes that are a little bit more set up for it. But anyway, it takes a beating on the bike, and so you're gonna be spending money on replacement parts, and then it comes down to, do you want to spend the time doing the repairs yourself? Or in my case, a lot of the stuff I leave to the pros. I have done stuff on my bikes before, like, all right, so take my first Dyna, for example. I did a lot of that on my own, as far as like installing the new clutch, stuff along those lines, and it's definitely the best way to learn how to do it. But mechanics, being a mechanic, it's an art just like everything else, and it takes time. And for me, time is money, and it got to a point with certain things where I'd rather leave it to the pros. I've got my Harley Dyna. It's been in the shop for about a month now. So my Dyna's in the shop, and then my Kawasaki that I got, some of you probably don't even remember this bike, the ZX6R, the stunt bike. That bike I dropped off with Rupp Stunts just to get it all back up and running. And that bike has been in the he's had that for a while now. Just waiting on a new wiring harness. I think he found one online. In the last couple months, by the time I get those back, I'll probably have spent like $3,000. All right, there's the culprit right there. The one busted spoke. Yeah, when I got into this, I don't think I understood how much money and how much time was going to be spent not actually riding the motorcycle. There's different schools of thought. Like, some people, you know, if you don't do work on the bike yourself, I don't know, you're not legit or whatever. Like I said, for me, it just came down to, there's certain things that I'll tackle and other things I just don't care to tackle. So different strokes for different folks. You got to do what works for you. But anyway, if you get into motorcycles, it's going to be expensive, no matter what kind of riding you're going to do. So you want to have a slush fund for repairs and that kind of thing. And then if you get into stunt riding specifically, just plan on spending a lot of time and money working on that bike, doing repairs. And sadly, that means that'll be time that you're not riding the motorcycle. So if you can have one or two bikes, so you always got a backup bike, then that's one way to do it. But then, like in my case, you may end up with a couple bikes not running at the same time. Look at this. But those are just the sacrifices that must be made to enjoy the motorcycle. It's always good to have a couple other hobbies too. That way, you know, if one thing's not working, you can jump into the other. There's the culprit right there. There you have it. I've got my bikes in the shop. Should have them back here hopefully soon, and we'll get back to riding. As always, I appreciate the support, you guys. Like and subscribe if you dig the channel, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Adios, hasta luego. Los famous. All right, you guys, case in point, man. I tell you what, stripped out this little lock nut. It's just little things like that when you work on stuff on your own. So. Oh, look at that. Finally got everything back together and the bike is running decent. I'll say it's running decent.